Welcome to All Things Moore County, Moore County's weekly radio show highlighting the many facets of the Sandhills. That includes real estate, lifestyle, community, and neighborhoods. And now, from 4 Properties, here's your host, Bill Sahadi.
Good morning and welcome to the talk show, All Things Moore County. And I hope everyone had a very happy Thanksgiving, and we're well aware that families are together this weekend. Thanksgiving has become almost like a 4 or 5 day extended weekend.
Yep.
And people get together. I've noticed, Dorothy, on social media, so many of the moms I know who have girls or boys in college,
Yep.
they're also excited they're coming home.
Of course.
Makes us remember when we were kids, we didn't understand all the fuss our parents made about us.
Nope.
It's a great time for reflection.
Yes, it is.
And we've had past shows on Thanksgiving to reflect. Today, in our quirky world, in our quirky real estate world, we have a story to tell today about not only the plight of first-time buyers. We have a story about a young lady who is 21, who just became a first-time buyer, whose mother happens to be one of the top real estate brokers in Moore County, and her lender. So we're being joined today by her lender, Jason Brooks from Movement Mortgage. We're being joined by Nikki Bowman, who is the broker-owner of Realty World, and who I've enjoyed having transactions with over the years. But the one that we're going to talk about first was one of the most enjoyable transactions this year because it involved her daughter, Rylee, who is 21, who at 21 has probably lived a much more interesting life than I did by the time I was 21. She's not only a first-time buyer, she's engaged to be married in the spring of 2025, and she is the owner of a well-known boutique in downtown Southern Pines called Manifest, which is right next to Swank and the Sunrise Theater. So, Nikki, I need to start with you because you called me. Here's the background of the story. I had listed a property in Highland Trails in Southern Pines, and you were all over me like glue, like after the first couple of days. And I knew that you lived in that general neck of the woods.
Yes.
And I thought you were just trying to set up an appointment to show it to a client. And the more we got to talking about it, your daughter, Rylee, became more and more of a conversation. If you want to give me just a little bit of a background on what precipitated that phone call, because what's transpired since was eye-opening for both of us.
Well, number one, at 21, of course, we were hesitant if it was time for her to buy a house or not.
Right.
But as I've watched the first-time buyer market in our area and kept thinking that possibly it would get easier, it's actually only seemed to have gotten harder.
Right.
So when one came up that seemed like, unfortunately in today's world, a good first-time buyer price range,
Right.
and it was in our neighborhood, and we're a very close family, all of us.
Right.
The siblings are very close. It just seemed like the perfect world. It was also right next door to her aunt. We live in the neighborhood, and her brother lives down the street that we bought a house for him about 3 years ago that he bought. So it just seemed too perfect. Although it seemed a little soon, we got with you and got with Jason Brooks, thank goodness. And between all of us, we were able to make it happen for her. And thank goodness it was you on the other side, because it's a hard thing with first-time buyers right now.
It's very hard, and the dynamics of any transaction can be filled with a lot of expectations, both from the seller and the buyer side.
Yes.
And I had an elderly couple that were moving to Florida, and they had the patience of of an ant. I mean, they just wanted it done. They didn't understand the process. Confused.
Yes.
And so when I knew it was your daughter, it took on a different meaning to me because I applaud young people
You do.
who want to step forward and take a risk, start to grow. 21 years old is, you're right, it's young to
It is.
purchase a home.
Yes.
And perhaps 10 years ago, that home might have been valued at 30 or 40% less
Yes.
than what it is today.
Mm-hmm.
But in this market, it is considered opening price point.
Yes.
Right?
And that's, yes, unfortunately. And I kick myself because I've been in it for 20 years. So I remember when that home was $100,000 or $150,000 less.
Right.
But as I've watched everything, they just continue to increase. And that is the opening price range. So to be in that neighborhood for that price was just a rare chance that I wanted her to be able to jump, and she was able to.
So as a mother, how many children do you have?
3.
And in the pecking order, we're going to talk about Rylee like she's not here. In the pecking order, where is she in the...
She's the baby.
She's the baby.
She is.
Okay,
Yes.
so you have you have a son,
Mm-hmm.
two boys?
Yes, 2 boys and Rylee.
Okay, she's a baby.
Yeah.
Okay. Getting a first-time buyer qualified it is also difficult in these times because of higher interest rates, increasing prices, and even with the elections behind us, I would say to you that I don't think it really mattered who won.
No.
The dynamics of our market aren't going to change
No.
anytime soon.
I don't see it changing either, because even if interest rates go up, the prices are increasing. And I mean, we've had inflation in the real estate prices.
Even if interest rates came down a little, the prices
are going up. So, and you can at least refinance, which is what we eventually, as we sat back and made a decision, was you can refinance as the rates come up. We can't change the prices. And I've done it for 20 years. I know you have as well, Bill, longer than I have. And I've never seen us go down. I've only seen us go through that crash many, many years ago, and we just stabilized through that time. So I don't see, I just see it going up.
So your daughter is engaged to be married.
She is.
When is the wedding date?
February 2022, 222.
And so did you talk about or think about renting versus owning? What would be best as a broker now? I'm not talking to you as a mother.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very much so. And through all my years, I just can't find that if you're approved to buy, it just makes the most sense. I know it's harder today, but there are ways. And if you are working with an agent that can guide you, like, some of the top agents in town that can guide you, it's definitely a tricky time. Have a good lender, have a good agent, and there are ways that you can do it. Jason gives very good advice on, buying down the rate. There's different things. I'll let him talk on that when it's time, and different things you can do for the meantime to make it more doable. Also, our rental market's so high.
Oh,
so if we were sitting in a rental market that was cheaper, it would be different, but it's not.
So I've heard, and Jason, I'll throw this out at you as well. First of all, thanks for coming and joining us.
I appreciate you having me.
The rental market is high, and you can still make an argument that owning a home long-term could be a better investment because of the return. But I hear a lot of people say the minimum amount of time, if you know you're going to be in a home for 3 or more years, it's worth looking into buying. If you're going to be in a home for 1 to 2 years, maybe not so much. And maybe you're better off to rent because you can turn on a dime, because people will move anywhere across the country these days for a job. But it seems like 3 years is sort of like the benchmark. Have you heard that?
I've always been of the mentality that owning is always just the best investment, especially rates are higher, but rates always come down.
Yeah.
And when rates come down, value is going to come up because people are going to enter the market. Just like a couple of years ago when that happened, prices got elevated. So as you buy, your equity is going to grow. So in my opinion, especially around our area, it's always a great time to buy.
So what do you say to people who say I'm going to live here for 2 to 3 years? It's not just the cost of the mortgage versus the cost of the rent, because you've got to factor in insurance, maintenance, and that's money you don't get back, but you protect your asset at the time you go to sell because you get a return from the purchase. It might be more money up front than renting, and it may take a little bit longer to make the exit, but at the end of the day, you're in a better equity position after 3 or 4 years.
Correct. You're building equity, so it's definitely the best investment you can make. A couple years ago, in a lot of cases around here, you're building $100,000 in equity if you turned around to refinance it or sell your property. So it's a great investment.
How much time do you spend, like in this past year, with first-time buyers?
Quite a bit of time. Just in the last week, I've closed 3 first-time home buyers. In 2 of the situation, one in Fayetteville, he actually bought a condo, and his payment actually went down $600 per month. So, and that was all inclusive of everything.
From his rent?
From his rent. He went from $1,900 to $1,300, including his HOA.
And his taxes and his insurance?
That's all inclusive.
Okay, so that's a good story.
Yeah, now that's atypical. I closed another one in Sanford. She was about $200 higher, but it was all inclusive. Now, the good thing with that is, again, rates will come down, and when that time comes, her payment will drop, and when she goes to sell it or refinance it, she's going to have quite a bit of equity, because as we said, rates will come down and the equity will grow.
Okay. Nikki, the house that Rylee has purchased is an older brick ranch.
Yes.
Very strong bones.
Yep.
There were some cosmetic upgrades, but like any home of a certain period, there's always going to be work to do.
Absolutely.
And we didn't get as much cooperation from the seller as we would have liked, but you understood the dynamic that I was up against. The seller was in his early 90s.
Yeah, I was impressed at all with that. Fact that
I
they were
mean,
doing it all.
They have the patience of I mean, they don't.
No.
They just, I want to sell my
And he had
house.
done a lot of his own work, so I think there was some hurt feelings.
Yeah, it's okay. We were able to work through it, and we were able to, because it became like a mission for Rylee.
Yes.
Like, if she's going to buy a first home, we want to make sure that the home has integrity, has good sound bones, and is not going to, bury her with expenses.
Right.
There were lots and lots of conversations between us. And to the seller's credit, I mean, they did listen. They were willing to negotiate on some repairs that they were
And I
able
think
to
that was,
give you back in an allowance.
whether it be Rylee, my daughter, or even in a transaction, I've kind of noticed this with first-time buyers in that price range at all. You have to be open. And, they were able to give us a credit, and we're doing the repairs. And
Right.
you were very helpful, Bill, on how to get that for us and where we could use it to be able to get the repairs.
So that brings up another point. I was fortunate that it was you.
Yeah.
And
Same back to you.
well, what if it were an agent that maybe had not had much experience? There were lots of obstacles with which we had to. It was like being a Pavlovian rat, going through this maze. But we had to know that these things could be done and to be done properly. But that's not always the case if you're not working with somebody of equal experience.
And I think that's not to try to, bring business to any of us, but the truth is finding an experienced
Right.
agent. I think when you see people say hire an experienced agent, that's really what it's for. I think all of us can do a lot of the same things, but being able to know these things can happen and you didn't hit a brick wall, and there's the creative ways you can make it, happen. We were able to close, and we are already almost finished with the repairs that we wanted the sellers to do. That didn't cost us any, and the sellers were essentially able to do it through different means. But between both of us, we knew there are creative ways to get it done. You're not just, sellers say no and you're at a brick wall.
When I love working with first-time buyers because it's an opportunity for us to impart whatever wisdom and perspective we have. And the one thing that I always tell a first-time buyer, buy the very best neighborhood you can. Don't go for just the solid surface counters
Yes.
and the oversized molding. make sure it's in the right location for resale.
You just took the words out of my mouth, and Rylee will tell you that's what my main thing was. The location is number one. If I think a lot of people get hung up, not to down new construction, love new construction, but if number one needs to be your location, because rates will change, they'll come down, you can eventually refinance. But a location doesn't change. And if historically that neighborhood has done well, that is a lot of value. If you can do the countertops and change the floors one day and paint the walls, but you can't change the location.
And when you're buying a home where you're in a market where the prices continually go up, so you think, oh my gosh, I'm buying a home at what could be perceived as the top of the market. You hope it keeps going up.
Yes.
But at some point, it's going to dip again. Getting a value is like catching a bird in flight, right? Some days it's low, some days it's high. You never know. So we want to take extra care with kid gloves, because we don't want the young kids to buy something and then to be strapped.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have that issue when we were growing up, or at least when I was growing up.
Me neither.
You came a generation after me, for sure. We're going to come back in the second set, and we're going to speak to Rylee. We have not spoken to you yet, and you don't have to say a word till the next set, because it's going to be all yours, and we're going to get your perspective on the entire experience. This is All Things Moore County. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the second set of All Things Moore County. And this is a set I've been waiting for, because I have finally gotten a chance to meet Rylee. Good morning.
Good morning.
You were patient sitting here as I was speaking with your mom and speaking with Jason. And I wanted to just dedicate this entire second set to speaking with you.
Oh my goodness, that's so kind.
Well, your mom, from the way she put you in a perspective for me, made me want to do everything I could to help her get you to the finish line, just like Jason did, from what you had said to me, Nikki. And so, Jason, thank you. What is it about being 21, you're 21, right?
Correct.
That makes you want to purchase a home versus, getting a real high, flashy styled apartment rental and starting out like most 21-year-olds that I know? You're an old soul.
Well, Bill, that's a very good question. So my mom is a realtor. Obviously, everyone knows that now. So I kind of grew up in the world of knowing what the world looks like, and houses and apartments and just rentals, and the difference from buying and rentals.
That's right.
And I've learned, and being a first-time buyer even showed it more, is you get more out of buying a home than just renting and like giving all your money to someone else, when
Right.
you can get your money back at the end of the day if you sell your home one day. But I already knew I'm gonna be locked here because I have my business. So I'm not going up. I'm not moving. I'm staying. So why would I spend the time renting when I know I want to live here?
So how is it at 21 years old you know yourself so well? I'm jealous,
Yeah.
because when I was 21, I had to have like 6 mirrors to decide which one I liked. I didn't know. How do you know so much?
My parents.
Yeah.
I was very privileged of living a life with my two parents and them teaching me everything. And I like to call myself a listen and learner, not a live and learner. I do live and learn, but I listen to my family and like what they have experienced themselves, or even Jason or my aunt, anybody. And I take that in and I sink it in. I'm like a sponge. I'm like, okay, like I don't want to repeat that. Like I can change. And, I feel like our generation, has opened up to listening more and being like, okay, like we can do this. It's got harder for first-time buyers. I think we all know that. But I was like, no, we got this.
Okay. Let's talk about your fear. What, going into this, I remember when I bought my first property, I thought, oh my God, if I don't make the mortgage payments, I'm going to go to jail. And I'm going to be destitute. And I have to work, because now I have this monthly obligation. And, I learned that you just do it every month, and every month it just keeps happening. It becomes a habit. But I was 24, you're 21. Did you have any fear in this process?
100%. I still have fear.
So okay.
That fear has not gone away. But I guess, I have a bit, I call it a safety net, my family. When I feel like I'm falling, they're there to catch me. And I'm, like I said, like seriously having someone back you up and be like, hey, we're here and you got this. And we've seen it multiple times in our lives, and where you're at, you got this. It's a, fresh of breath air, and being like, okay, I got this.
Okay. You speak like a motivational speaker.
Do I?
Yes. Yes, you do. Very directed. Okay. Very proactive, on the balls of your feet. I get it. No, really, you do. So tell me about the house. Tell me about your plans for it. And because you're 21, this is an older home. This is what we call a period home, which had nothing to do with your life because it was built before your parents were even married.
Yes.
It's an older home, and it's not. But what do you like about the home? What are you excited about looking forward?
Oh, I'm very excited that I'm in a neighborhood. I'm in a great neighborhood, and my mom has taught me, you can change the home. You can't change where it's at.
Right.
So your first place to look at is where it's at. So
That's the smartest. You're 200% correct.
that is definitely advice to anyone, is to start to look at, like, you can always build on the home. You can always save money to do whatever to it. You can't change where it's at or who's around you and stuff like that. So, and I wanted some land too, because I like my doggies and my dogs need land too. So it was a good place.
Tell me about the loan experience you had with Jason, because for first-time buyers, I'm going to guess that can sometimes be intimidating because you may be signing your life away.
Dude, I thought they want to know what I ate last night. Like, they want to know everything about my life. Right. Everything.
Right.
That definitely opened my eyes. That made me terrified.
Okay.
In itself. I was like, I'm second guessing everything about myself. I'm like, am I good enough to get a home? Am I do I need to do more? And so Jason has definitely helped me take a step back and be like, hey, it's okay.
Jason, tell me about Rylee's disposition during the process, because at 21, she's got to be one of the younger buyers you've worked with.
Well, Rylee was actually the perfect client, but what she fails to realize is we still have to get her blood sample here before we leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, so no, her disposition was absolutely perfect. She's really easy to work with. What we did is we did what's called a non-occupant co-borrower. The hardest part about this was probably the speed, because we wanted to get this done as quick as possible, with your sellers as well.
Yes.
But, the biggest thing is when we collaborate and everybody works together as a team, it all comes together. But no, Rylee was absolutely perfect. But as far as age, she was about 15 years ahead of myself.
Yeah, when you were 21.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, me too.
21, yeah, that's probably about the quickest. I might have had maybe one or two people earlier than that, but
Yeah.
21 is pretty fast, pretty young.
Yeah. So it's like you're wrapping your arms around a lot of responsibility. And when we come back in the third set, we're going to talk a little bit about your business venture. We're going to talk about the fact you're getting married in a few months in February.
I am.
So you are wrapped into responsibility and commitment. And I always find that risk takers, right?
Yeah.
Have a much better propensity to get ahead than those that play it safe.
Well, if you don't jump, you'll never fly.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about your mom a little bit, all right?
Let's do it. I'd love to.
Because you do have a great role model.
100%.
Right. Well, I don't know your dad, but I sure know your mom. And I know that she's like the rooster looking out over her flock. And she wants everybody to take responsibility for their own decisions, but she wants to put them in the best position to make those choices. She doesn't want to take the choices away from you. Like if you own something, you'll be more committed to it.
100%. What I would have to say to that is my mom, when she raised me, taught me, she taught me I wanted to earn her respect. It wasn't that give me respect or you don't get anything. She literally made me be like, I want to make my mom proud.
Yeah.
And seriously, after that, my headspace being there is where I am today. Because every time I sit down and lay down, I ask myself, did I myself make myself proud today? And did I make my parents proud? And I have no resentment towards my mom where I'm like, how dare she make me like have respect for her or work this hard. It's the quite opposite. She deserves to know that her daughter is doing well in life.
You know, I'm a big believer in this saying that every child in a family has a different set of parents. Mm-hmm. Okay, because I think the parents read their children, make decisions about what they can handle, what they can't handle, and treat them accordingly, and encourage them accordingly. And I'm guessing that your mom thought you could take it. She could put you on an advanced training course, and you would respond.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. We all have different parents, and that is the perfect quote, I feel like.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, all my siblings and I are closer than ever. We call each other best friends. My brother and I were 3 years apart. We call each other twins. But my mom, treated us all different ways, but we all were loved equally, if that makes sense.
Your friends, your peers, your
Correct.
Contemporaries.
Correct. My mom was not my best friend when I was young. That was our biggest rule, but now she is my best friend.
Right. So your mom is I know this without even having to have this conversation with her. She's a believer in tough love. And and you will look back. As a matter of fact, I will tell you, my parents were the same way, tough love. I hated them growing up. I was like, what? Today, both my parents are gone. When I look back fondly, all I can think about in a good way is their tough love lessons, because they knew I was resilient. I could dust myself off and pick myself. If I picked a fight with a kid in school, my father would take me to the fight. He would wait till I got my head knocked off before I almost passed out. And he said, next time you think you want to pick a fight with someone, think twice about it. I go, okay, I'm bleeding to death. He knew I could take it. I think your mom feels the same way.
100%. But, she does it so well. It's insane how well she does it, because even though, she gives me tough love, if I needed to, bury a body, she's the person to call. It's okay to say. I don't mean, really, but...
I have to ask Jason one quick question in closing this set. So you meet a lot of first-time buyers.
I do.
And I'm guessing you can, within 5 minutes, even less, you can make a judgment. Is that person proactive and with arms wide open, or are they more timid? Are they nervous? Are they just reacting rather than initiating?
Absolutely, and the goal is always to educate them about the process and to make them feel as comfortable from the start. But you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and I think she falls into the category of initiating rather than reacting.
Correct. She was at the finish line before she ever started.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Rylee Bowman, Nikki Bowman, and Jason Brooks are our guests. We're talking about your experience with your first-time purchase. Congratulations. We want to come back in the third set and talk to you more about some of your other plans, because you've got about as much responsibility to handle as anybody that I know in my 20s. This is All Things Moore County. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our third and final set of All Things Moore County. We've been talking about the plight of first-time buyers, and we're going to actually segue a little bit with Rylee to get into her business and her additional commitments that are coming up. But before we do, I want to go back to Nikki and Jason. And Nikki, I think the most important thing for a first-time buyer is I truly believe it, is to work with an experienced realtor.
Absolutely.
Not, yeah. You've got to get good advice with somebody who can see the whole playing field and make sure that you're taking into account only what's in the very best interests of
The client.
Yes.
Yes. And what are their plans in the next 5 years, 10 years, and really, like you said, see the whole playing field for them. Someone that's been in it like us long enough that have seen the trends,
Right.
seen the neighborhoods,
Right.
and to help them, as a first-time buyer, I think you do see all the pretty solid surface countertops, and
Right.
they need someone with experience to help them see other sides of things and why certain things matter down the line.
And with all the things we've seen in these 20 or 25 years, it's sort of like a way of paying it forward so that the next generation
Yes.
is getting as much of a leg up as they possibly can, because the environment they're growing up in is different than the environment we grew up in.
So much harder. I think that was my big thing about helping Rylee to, get started.
Yeah.
Was homeownership forever. I've always seen it as just such a leg up to get started. And I think it's harder for them to get into that world, but not impossible. And I think some people are getting discouraged that it's impossible, and it's not if you find the
Yeah.
right agent that can guide you and have the patience to wait for that house to come up in the good area and the lender that can help you do it. But a good agent with experience usually has a good team they've worked, put together that can really help you get to the finish line.
And Jason, I have to ask you, because of your perspective and your years in the business too, I mean, it's a responsibility to not just put your client's interest as top priority, but to make sure you're giving them the right advice as they start out.
Absolutely. And the number one thing that I would suggest is to never put the cart before the horse, is that the client should always look to get pre-qualified prior to looking.
Right.
And then reach out to an experienced loan officer. Me personally, I've been doing this 29 years. I hate to age myself, but yeah, definitely reach out to an experienced loan officer, i.e. me. But that would definitely be the first step.
And Movement Mortgage, you're located where?
We're at 100 Pavilion on Morganton Road,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I've actually been with Movement 14 years.
Have you really?
Absolutely.
Well, this was a chapter that I think everyone at this table was happy to close.
We were. I thank everybody here for
Right.
helping get Rylee
So,
there.
Thanks, guys.
It's my little sister.
so Rylee, back to you.
back.
You're back in you're living in the house? Have you moved in?
I have not yet.
When are you going to do that?
TBD on that one.
Okay.
Okay.
TBD.
That,
Okay.
right now.
I'll keep it on the down low.
Yeah, on the down low, right?
She's positioning herself. She's smart, Bill. She's putting herself in a position to make sure she can pay that mortgage payment.
Look, if I had to say
Where-
to anyone who does get something younger, like get a house younger, don't rush just because you got it. Like, plan yourself out and be like, make sure you're good and all your doors are good. If something happens, this is good, this is good.
When she was born, you didn't even have to diaper train her. She just
It's-
grew into it herself.
Riley is the
Always
one
older
that,
than-
like she said, she's listened, and she has 2 brothers ahead of her, and
Unreal.
I was like you. I didn't have it easy like getting started. So I've told her I've been always very honest with my kids about my failures and my mess ups, and she's learned by listening.
Yeah.
And she loves to work. She has a lot of drive.
Well, part of your drive is, I want to talk to you a little bit about your business, Manifest. You went to high school, you started at Pinecrest here. Tell me a little bit about your background, because Manifest is a boutique. You're in the fashion business?
Yeah, I am. So a little bit about my background. Went to Pinecrest for 2 years, and then I transferred to play soccer to a boarding school called IMG Academy. And I was about to go that entire path, go play at a college, D1, and try to go professional. Until a step back happened, COVID, everyone knows about. And then my brother actually had brain tumor, and he had to go into brain surgery. And after his brain surgery, he was paralyzed on his left side only for 6 to 8 months. That turned our family completely around. Because of that, I was far away. And like I said, this is the brother that's 3 years apart from me, my twin. And I
Okay.
couldn't stay away from him.
Right.
Came home right away. I dropped soccer and everything. My identity was lost. And that safety net that I had was my family. And I always loved fashion. Everyone loved my, like, in the high school, you know, like the yearbook, you get the fashion thing. Like, I got that. Like, but I never thought about it. I just thought soccer. Because when you're young and you play sport, everyone says you're that soccer player. You're that football player. Oh, you're going to go far. So that's all you know. And I was gone. And my brother was, you know, halfway paralyzed. Well, half side of him. So I was disappeared. And then a miracle happened. Mockingbird moved. That retail store was open. That brick and mortar.
Very well-known store.
Yeah. And my family was like, let's just, you know, like, you always wanted to work in fashion. Like, you always cared about fashion. And I said, you know what? I want to make a boutique. I want to just go in the fashion industry. And we jumped on it. And that safety net came and we did it. And my brother, everyone is healed now, by the way.
That's great.
So our store is half side's closed and the other side is crystals in a healing space, because when my brother went through his brain surgery and was paralyzed, he did a lot of Reiki, red light therapy, and that opened the whole like herbs, and that opened a whole nother side for him. And so we put that in the store because that means the world to him, and
Right.
it gave him his identity again and gave me an identity again, and we came together and I opened this store.
Wow. Your fashion background, did you do anything to prepare yourself? Because it's such a risky business to just get into.
Yeah, I was definitely just, you know, I just threw myself in. I said, no, I'm just throwing myself in. And I did. And I've learned a lot of things. And I can talk on and on about my experiences and my, like, mistakes I made. But do I regret it? Not one bit. It has made me who I am today. And I am so glad for what I've learned. I'm the buyer for my store. The demographic in my store is every age. It started with my mom and I buying together, and then when she saw I was doing well, she gave me all the ropes. And the last year and a half, I would say, I have gotten all the ropes, and the demographic, again, is just everyone. So it's really for people who like to style and like to be different in the world and want to, you know, if you are in a crowd, you can point the person out. That is my store.
So you've got today, actually, the show airs. It's Small Business Saturday.
Yeah, Small Business Saturday.
What are people going to see in your shop? What
Ooh.
kind of specials?
So my store's gonna be 35% off the entire store. And what you're gonna just see is a happy Rylee Bowman in there, and you know, I'm gonna be bopping around saying welcome in and saying support small businesses, so you guys should come support us. And jeans are all 35% off. Our jeans are just black denim, which is 2 to 3% spandex, 11% polyester, and they're made in the U.S. The cool thing about them is they're woven. The spandex is woven from left to right, so they stretch. So when you put them in the dryer, because they're 2 to 3% spandex,
Right.
they shrink right back up. They're not going to get baggy, and every woman knows, or anyone knows, they hate when their jeans get too baggy and they can never wear it again. You don't have to worry about that with Just Blacks. And so, yeah, I definitely recommend coming to get Just Black pair. That's 35% off Saturday.
So you're very inspiring, young lady, to me.
Thanks.
And I'll tell you one thing about you that I think is huge. I don't think you're afraid of change, and I don't think but what you may not know, there will be opportunities in the next decade. You're going to have lots of changes, but you seem like the kind of young lady that will welcome the changes, because we don't know what's on the other side, but you're not going to shy away from it. You don't have a choice. You have to embrace what's in front of you.
Yeah, I 100% love change. Like, we can't change. Well, that's so funny I'm using it. Ha ha ha. You can't change what happens, but what you can do is take it, absorb it like a sponge, and say, you know what, and bounce back from it. And unless you fall and you stay on the ground,
Right.
then you're done. but
Right.
you can always get back up, because the biggest thing is, even if you're at the bottom,
Yeah.
the only way up is up.
So if your mom and dad were to disappear tomorrow, which we don't want to happen, but let's say they did, I have 100% confidence you're prepared for this world.
Bill, you're going to have to come banging on my door for like 3 months to be like, you need to get out. But after that, yeah, I'll be good.
Yeah, starting in the 4th month.
Starting the 4th month.
So the interesting thing is I have many years on you, but I will look back to when I was your age, and I have vivid memories of all the life lessons that I got, and they're with me today as if they just happened. And how much I wish my parents knew how much I appreciate how patient they were with me. I was a difficult child. I mean, I was like the poster child for Ritalin. and that's how they show they love you, and how they test you, and they make you strong. And you've got a wedding coming up now in a couple of months.
I do.
Good for
Do you
you.
want to come? You should come.
Let me clear my February calendar.
Good.
And I love making speeches at weddings. No, I'm kidding.
That would be so fun.
And you got a sense of humor. Is that from your mom or your dad?
Neither. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. That was from my brothers, actually.
Is that right?
Yeah, I was raised by 2 boys. Well, I was raised by them, but my brothers tormented me. So, like, yeah, and tortured me
So
as a joke.
you have a great opportunity in front of you with your business, obviously with your wedding, and with the house that you're going to shepherd along in a measured manner
Yes.
to build equity, to improve that value, and that pride of ownership is so important.
Yeah, it's going to be an amazing home for the next generation
Yeah.
that I bring one day. Also, I just have a lot of visions for it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. I finally got to meet you, and boy, you didn't disappoint.
Thank you so much, Bill. Can I say one thing to the younger folks that they hear?
Yeah.
Yeah. Biggest thing I want to say is follow your dreams. Don't let anyone take that away from you guys. And you're hearing me at 21 years old doing what I'm doing. So do what you want to do, and don't let anyone take that away from you guys. Oh, I'm getting emotional.
I want to be 21 again now. I want to jump on board. I love your enthusiasm, and I love your passion. If you lose your passion, you're in trouble.
Yes.
Don't lose passion
100%.
for whatever you do. Jason Brooks, thanks for coming in. I'm
Absolutely. Thank
so
you for
happy
having me.
you were on the her side during this transaction, and that goes without saying, Nikki. And congratulations to your family.
Thank you, Bill.
And I'm sure this was a very special Thanksgiving for your family on so many levels, right?
This is so amazing. Yes.
You did a great job, Mom.
Thank you, Bill. Yes, we're very proud of her.
Yeah.
She pushes us through half the time.
Oh my gosh, I might need like some motivational
Yeah, she does. It
inspiration.
does.
Oh, yeah.
Jessica, Jason.
I might seem amazing, but I can be rough sometimes. They have to deal with a lot
Yeah,
with me.
she be tough too.
Thank you all for coming in, and
Thank you, Bill.
Rylee, best of luck.
Thank you so much, Bill.
Guess what? You don't need luck. Everybody, have a great week. This is All Things Moore County.
Happy Thanksgiving!